2 years ago, I was standing outside the gleaming glass towers of Morrison & Associates, clutching my resume with sweaty palms. I'd just been rejected from yet another interview, and as I walked toward the exit, I heard it, that cruel, mocking laughter that would haunt me for months. "Did you see that guy? Thinking he could work here with those shoes and that cheap suit?" The voice belonged to Derek Mitchell, the golden boy of the finance department, surrounded by his usual crowd of sycophants. They all laughed as I walked past, my face burning with shame. But here's what Derek didn't know that day, and what you're about to discover, is that sometimes the universe has a twisted sense of justice. Sometimes the person you laugh at becomes the person who decides your fate. This is the story of how I went from being the butt of the joke to becoming Derek's worst nightmare. And trust me, the revenge was sweeter than anything I could have imagined. That day outside Morrison & Associates wasn't just another rejection, it was my breaking point. I'd been unemployed for 8 months, watching my savings dwindle and my confidence crumble with each thanks, but no thanks email. My girlfriend had left me 2 weeks earlier, saying she couldn't handle dating someone without ambition. My parents kept asking when I'd get a real job, and my friends had stopped inviting me out because I couldn't afford to split the bill anymore. But Derek's laughter, that cut deeper than all of it combined. As I sat in my beat-up Honda Civic in that parking garage, I made a promise to myself that would change everything. I pulled out my phone and recorded a voice memo. "Derek Mitchell, Finance Department, Morrison & Associates. Remember that name. Remember this feeling. Use it." What I did next might sound crazy, but it was the first step in a plan that would turn my life upside down in the most incredible way possible. Here's what most people don't understand about revenge: the best kind isn't impulsive or emotional. It's calculated, patient, and systematic. Over the next 6 months, I became obsessed with transforming myself into everything Derek thought I could never be. I sold my car and took the bus to save money for a professional wardrobe. I studied every night until 2 a.m., earning certifications in project management, data analysis, and strategic planning. I watched YouTube videos on executive presence, practiced my handshake in the mirror, and learned to speak with the confidence of someone who belonged in boardrooms. But here's the kicker: I wasn't just improving myself randomly. I was studying Morrison & Associates like it was my religion. I memorized their client list, analyzed their quarterly reports, and identified exactly where they were bleeding money and losing opportunities. By month 7, I wasn't the same broken man Derek had laughed at. I was becoming someone dangerous, someone with a plan and the skills to execute it perfectly. Getting back into Morrison & Associates required more than just showing up with a better resume. I needed to be strategic, calculated, and frankly, a little bit sneaky. I discovered that Morrison's biggest client, Hartwell Industries, was hemorrhaging profits due to inefficient supply chain management, something nobody at Morrison seemed to notice or care about. So I did something bold. I reached out directly to Hartwell's CEO with a detailed analysis and a solution that could save them $2.3 million annually. The CEO was so impressed that he personally called Morrison's managing partner, demanding they hire that brilliant analyst who actually understands our business. Suddenly, Morrison wasn't just considering my application, they were desperately trying to recruit me. The irony was delicious. The same company that had rejected me 9 months earlier was now offering me a senior analyst position with a salary 40% higher than what I'd originally applied for. But the best part? My new office was on the same floor as Derek Mitchell. The game was about to begin. Walking into Morrison & Associates as an employee felt like stepping into an alternate universe. The same security guard who had watched me leave in shame now greeted me with respect. The same elevator I'd ridden down in defeat now carried me up to the 34th floor, where I had a corner office with a view. But the moment I'd been anticipating and dreading came on my 3rd day. I was grabbing coffee from the break room when I heard that familiar voice behind me. Well. Look who managed to sneak their way in here." I turned around slowly, and there was Derek, still wearing that same smug expression, but now there was something else in his eyes: confusion. He clearly remembered me but couldn't quite place from where. "Do we know each other?" he asked, and I could see his brain working. trying to connect the dots between the confident professional standing before him and the broken man he'd mocked in the parking garage. I smiled, not the forced, desperate smile of someone trying to fit in, but the calm, knowing smile of someone holding all the cards. "We might have crossed paths before," I said casually. "But don't worry about it. I'm sure we'll get to know each other much better soon." What Derek didn't realize in that coffee room encounter was that I already knew something he didn't, something that would change both our lives forever. You see, during my first week, I'd been quietly observing, analyzing, and documenting. I noticed that Derek's department was consistently underperforming, missing deadlines, and losing clients. More importantly, I discovered that Derek had been taking credit for work done by his subordinates while deflecting blame for his own mistakes. I spent my evenings building an airtight case, complete with email trails, missed deadlines, and client feedback that painted a very different picture than the one Derek had been selling to upper management. But I didn't act immediately. I waited, watched, and gathered more evidence. The opportunity one was waiting for came 6 weeks later when Morrison lost their second biggest client due to what Derek claimed was market volatility. I knew better. I had the real data, the actual reasons, and a solution that could not only win the client back but increase their contract value by 30%. When I presented my findings to the managing partner, his face went through a spectrum of emotions: shock, anger, and finally, cold determination. "We need to talk," he said, and I knew the wheels of justice were finally beginning to turn. The managing partner's office felt different this time. 6 months ago, I would have been intimidated by the mahogany furniture and wall of diplomas. Now, I sat across from him as an equal, watching as he reviewed my comprehensive report on the finance department's failures. "This is extensive," he said, flipping through pages of documented incompetence and missed opportunities. "And you believe you can turn this around?" I leaned forward, channeling every ounce of confidence I had built over the past year. "I don't believe it, sir. I know it. Give me the authority, and I'll have that client back within 30 days and 3 new clients signed by the end of the quarter." What happened next still gives me chills. He closed the folder, looked me directly in the eyes, and said words that made my heart race. "Congratulations, you're our new finance department manager. Derek Mitchell will report to you effective immediately." The room seemed to spin. In less than 2 years, I had gone from being laughed at outside this very building to becoming the manager of the man who had humiliated me. But the best part wasn't the promotion itself, it was knowing that Derek had no idea what was coming for him. The morning I became Derek's manager was a masterpiece of cosmic irony. I arrived early, arranged my new office, and prepared for what would be the most satisfying meeting of my professional life. When Derek walked in for our scheduled one-on-one, I watched his face cycle through confusion, recognition, and finally, pure horror. "You've got to be kidding me," he whispered, sinking into the chair across from my desk. "Remember me now?" I asked, savoring every second of his discomfort. "Parking garage, about 2 years ago? You had some opinions about my shoes and suit?" The color drained from his face as the memory hit him like a freight train. "Listen, he started, but I held up my hand. "Here's how this is going to work, Derek. You're going to do your job, meet your deadlines, and treat every person in this office with respect. You're going to stop taking credit for other people's work, and you're going to start actually earning your salary. Do that, and we won't have any problems." I paused, letting the weight of his new reality sink in. But step out of line even once, and you'll discover that the person you laughed at has a very long memory and absolutely no tolerance for bullies. 6 months into my role as Derek's manager, something beautiful happened, justice served with a side of poetic irony. Derek, who had once mocked others and coasted on stolen credit, was now working harder than he ever had in his life. Under my leadership, the finance department's performance improved by 200%, we recovered that lost client plus 5 new ones, and our division became the most profitable in the company's history. But the real victory wasn't in the numbers, it was in the transformation. Derek learned humility, accountability, and what it actually meant to earn respect rather than demand it. During our 6-month review, something unexpected happened. Derek looked me in the eye and said something I never thought I'd hear. "I owe you an apology. What I did that day was cruel and unprofessional. You've made me a better employee and, honestly, a better person." That moment taught me something profound about revenge. The sweetest kind isn't about destroying someone, it's about rising so high that your success becomes their lesson. It's about becoming so undeniably excellent that the people who once dismissed you have no choice but to respect you. Today, 3 years after Derek's laughter echoed through that parking garage, I'm sitting in the corner office of the executive floor. Derek still works in finance, but now he's one of our most reliable managers, and surprisingly, we've developed a mutual respect that borders on friendship. The story could have ended with bitterness, revenge, and destroyed careers. Instead, it became something more powerful, a testament to what's possible when you transform pain into purpose, humiliation into motivation, and setbacks into comebacks. Here's what I learned from this entire experience: the people who laugh at you today might be working for you tomorrow, but only if you're willing to do the work, make the sacrifices, and never give up on yourself. The universe doesn't owe you success, but it will reward relentless effort, strategic thinking, and the courage to bet on yourself when nobody else will. Every rejection, every cruel laugh, every moment of doubt was actually preparing me for this success. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all, it's becoming so successful that your former tormentors become your greatest admirers. This story isn't just about workplace dynamics or getting even with someone who wronged you. It's a mirror reflecting deeper truths about human nature, resilience, and the power of transformation. When Derek laughed at me that day, he wasn't just mocking my appearance, he was revealing his own insecurities, his need to feel superior by putting others down. We've all been on both sides of this equation at some point. We've all felt the sting of being underestimated, and if we're honest, we've probably underestimated others too. The real lesson here is that every person you encounter is fighting battles you know nothing about, carrying dreams you can't see, and possessing potential that might surprise you. That loser in the cheap suit might become your boss. That quiet colleague might revolutionize your industry. That person you dismiss today might be the one who changes your life tomorrow. Success isn't just about climbing the ladder, it's about helping others climb it too. True victory isn't defeating your enemies, it's turning them into allies. Thank you for taking this incredible journey with me today. If this story resonated with you, if it reminded you that your current circumstances don't define your future potential, or if it inspired you to turn your pain into power, then I've accomplished what I set out to do. Your support means everything to us, and it's what allows us to keep sharing these life-changing stories. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our latest content. We're building a community of dreamers, fighters, and comeback artists just like you. And here's something special I want you to do: share this video with someone who needs to hear it today. Maybe it's a friend who's going through a tough time, a family member who's lost their confidence, or someone who just needs a reminder that their story isn't over yet. Sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is remind others that they're capable of more than they know. Your share could be the spark that ignites someone's transformation. Until next time, remember, your setbacks are setups for your comebacks, and your greatest victories are still ahead of you.